am your IYS English teacher for class 10, and I'm here with the teaching of week 7, and today is day 1, and I have some instructions for you all. Kindly listen to it and follow the instructions. Be ready with your English textbook, pencil, and a notebook. Ask questions related to your queries after the explanation gets completed. Your queries will be answered in the chat session. Now, at this stage, you have to make a grammar and composition portion in your English copy. The first portion at present in which you are working, you have done your work now, is your prose and poetry portion. And your students, start learning and revising and get yourself completely prepared for your online assessment test. For your online assessment test, you have to get ready with all topics taught in June, July, and which will be taught in this month of August, that is in week 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so let's start with the schedule of today's class. Today is day 1, and today we are going to, hopefully, we are going to complete Dignity of Work on textbook page number 28. Speak Gently, which is a poem, on textbook page number 43, and we are going to do 50 idioms starting from page number 11 to page number 52. We are going to do idioms which are present in your textbook. So dear students, the first topic, Dignity of Work, on textbook page number 28. First of all, let us know the meaning of dignity of work. What is the meaning of dignity of work? Dignity of work means that every work is dignified, that means respected. It also implies that dignity or respect can be achieved only by hard work. The dignity of work covers manual labor, that is physical labor or work done with hands. So dear students, let's get started. This is page number 28 of your textbook, and this is page number 29. The content of page number 28 and 29, I'm going to explain you through this flowchart. So what happens in this lesson? In the beginning, Akhtar, who is the main character of this lesson, came late from school and he was looking angry and quite untidy. That means his uniform was looking untidy, and he did not reply his mother when she asked him the reason of being late. But he did not reply because he was not in a good mood. Then Mr. Inayat, children's favorite uncle, came to visit them, and he was their favorite because he used to tell them different interesting stories of his visits to different countries of the world. He had visited different parts of the world, and he used to share his experiences, so he was the favorite uncle of the children. Akhtar was in a good mood now. When his uncle arrived, he was in a good mood. When his uncle asked the reason of being late and angry, Akhtar said that they were having social service week at school and their teacher had made him do the dusting of the cupboards and the desks of their classroom. Then Uncle Inayat asked that whether their teacher did any work or not. So Akhtar also told that their teacher had swept the floor and their headmaster had cleaned the bathroom. And he was angry on that because he had a mindset that only servants are meant to do inferior work. And why did a gentleman like their headmaster clean the bathroom? That means he thought that inferior work is meant to do only by servants. We are not supposed to do any kind of work which is inferior. Then Mr. Inayat explained Akhtar that no work is inferior to do, and our servants are also human beings like us, and we should treat them as we treat ourselves, and we should always be ready to do ourselves what we ask them to do. I have underlined this quote by Uncle Inayat because this is mentioned in your textbook on page number 29, and this is very important. If we say from the important from the reference to the context point of view, this is very important, and this is also a very good advice. And this advice Mr. Anayat has explained by giving the noblest example of the greatest role model, our holy prophet, peace be upon him, and his companions. He also gave examples of various Muslim leaders in some developed countries of the world. That means to make Akhtar realize the dignity of work, the importance of doing work with our own hands. We should not feel in doing any work. Uncle Inayat explained this by giving various examples, and the first example he gave was that of our holy prophet, peace be upon him. Now, on page number 29, Uncle Inayat has explained that our holy prophet, peace be upon him, loved doing work for himself and for others with his own hands. He would never ask anyone to do that work which he himself would not do. Our holy prophet, peace be upon him, repaired his own shoes, mended and washed his own clothes, and he even swept his own room. Swept means the second form of sweep. Means he used to clean his own room with his own hands. He used to repair his own shoes, and he used to mend. Mend means to repair our torn clothes and to put another some other part of fabric to cover the torn part of our garment. And imagine, dear students, that the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, who, because of whom this world has been created, imagine him wearing torn clothes and clothes which he used to mend himself, and we feel shame in repeating our clothes in some function. He also worked with his companions in the construction of mosque at Medina. That means when the mosque at Medina was being built, our holy prophet, peace be upon him, took part in the construction. He helped his companions by giving and providing the building materials when the mosque was being constructed. And during the Battle of Khandak, he joined his companions in digging the trench outside Medina. When the trench was being dug outside Medina, our holy prophet, peace be upon him, joined his companions in digging the trench. So, dear students, we must not feel shame in doing any kind of work, and this is what we are going to learn from this lesson. And this is page number 30, and here Uncle Inayat has given some more examples. He has given the example of the companions of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, when Rukhsana was the sister of Akhtar. When Rukhsana asked about the companions, whether they followed the holy noble example of dignity of work or not, then Uncle Inayat explained this. First, he gave the example of Hazrat Abu Bakr. Hazrat Abu Bakr not only did his own work but also fetched water for widows and neighbors who were very old and had no one to work for them or help them. That means Hazrat Abu Bakr also worked with his own hands. He never felt shame, he never felt shy in doing any work, and he also helped those neighbors who were very old and who were alone, who had no one to help them, and he used to fetch water for widows. Then Hazrat Umar. Hazrat Umar once carried a large sack of flour on his shoulders for a needy family. That means to help a needy family, Hazrat Umar never felt shame to carry a large sack of flour on his shoulders. Then he has given the example of Hazrat Ali. Hazrat Ali worked in the garden of a Jew, and the wages he got from that work he gave away as charity. So Hazrat Ali, he worked in the garden of a Jew, and whatever money he got from that work, he gave away as charity to the needy people. Then he gave the example of Hazrat Fatma, who was the daughter of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and she was the wife of the Caliph of Islam, Hazrat Ali. She used to fetch water, she used to grind corn, and she used to sweep her house herself. She never wanted any servant so that they can work for her. She used to do all her work herself. Then Uncle Inayat gave some examples of Muslim rulers and leaders like Caliph Umar bin Abdulaziz. He was a caliph, but he refused to hire a servant for his wife's help. He thought that his wife should work herself. There was no need of any servant to be hired. Then Caliph Mamun al-Rashid used to serve food to his guests and himself. That means whenever he had guests at his place, at the table, dinner table or lunch table, he used to serve food to his guests and himself. And then Sultan Nasiruddin used to make caps to earn money for his living. Sultan means a king. So Sultan Nasiruddin used to make caps. He never relied on the treasure of his kingdom. He used to make caps, and he used to sell them to earn money for his own living. Then he gave the example of Emperor Aurangzeb. Emperor Aurangzeb was a great king, and he used to transcribe the Holy Quran to earn his living. That means he also did not rely on the treasure of his kingdom. He used to transcribe. Transcribe means to put into words some thoughts or speech. He used to write the Holy Quran to earn his living. Then, dear students, then comes the turn of some advanced and developed countries of the world, of which Mr. Inayat has given the example. He said that they are advanced, these countries are advanced and developed countries of the world. Why? Because they have realized and understood the dignity of work, while we have forgotten it. We means the backward countries who are not much developed. This is just because we have forgotten the dignity of work. We do not give value to work. We feel shame in doing any work. But the advanced and the developed countries, these people, they do not feel shame in doing any kind of work. He gave the example of China. He said that in China, everyone works in a field or a factory once in a year to maintain the dignity of work. They work, they do this, they follow this practice. Why? Because they understand the dignity of work. They do not feel this shame, and they do not feel shy, and they do not feel any kind of disappointment in doing any kind of work. In fact, this practice is followed even by the Prime Minister and his wife. The Prime Minister of China and his wife also follow this practice. Whatever work anyone does in their life to earn their living, they have to leave it and they have to work for a week in a factory or in a field once in a year. They have to do some type of inferior work once in a year, and they don't feel shame in doing that. Then in the USA, when Mr. Inayat once stayed as a guest with a high government official. As I told you in the beginning that Mr. Inayat had traveled many countries of the world, so he's sharing one of his experiences while staying in America. He was staying with a high government official as a guest. There he saw that his son, the son of the high government officer, his son used to get up early in the morning and he used to go out to sell newspapers. And when asked by Mr. Inayat, he said that he did so because he wanted to be independent and feel like he is useful for something. So, what is the need of a rich man's son to sell newspapers? He must not do anything. He is the son of a very rich man, but he used to sell newspapers just because he wanted to be independent and he wanted to prove himself useful. And one day, when the boy fell ill, his father went out to sell newspapers so that his son would not lose his customers. See, the son fell ill, but the father, he took his job of selling the newspapers so that his son would not lose his customers. That means the high government official also did not feel any shame in selling newspapers. Even the president's son in USA took up the work of whitewashing the rooms of a hotel. That means he has Uncle Inayat has given further one example of the son of the president in USA. He took up the work of whitewashing the rooms of a hotel. And when the children asked Mr. Inayat about his personal experience of living abroad, that whether he used to do any work or not, then Mr. Inayat shared that when he used to live in a hostel while living abroad, he used to sweep his room and clean the bathrooms when he lived in a hostel. And once he was in an urgent need of some money because he wanted to buy some books. So what he did, he also washed dishes in a hotel when he was in need of extra money for purchasing books. So dear students, this was the explanation of page number 30. And after listening to all these advices and all these examples, Akhtar felt shame on his behavior and he promised his uncle that in future he would not feel shame, he would not feel disappointed in doing any kind of work. In fact, he said that he will try to do his work with his own hands because he had understood the dignity of work. He had understood that it is no shame in working with our own hands. No kind of work is superior or inferior, and we must not think anyone inferior than us, especially our servants. They are also human beings like us, and we must also not feel shame in doing any work which we ask our servants to do. So dear students, this was the explanation of dignity of work, and let's move towards the short note of dignity of work. If you can take a quick screenshot, you can take it, or else if you cannot manage to take a screenshot, you can always follow the uploaded video of this class. So I hope you all have taken the screenshot, and if you follow the screenshots, if you follow all the slides, you will be very comfortable in finding answers to the textual questions. So let's move forward. These are the word meanings of the chapter. Kindly take a screenshot, and these are the textual questions. I hope you all have taken the screenshot. And now let's move towards our next topic, speak gently. Speak Gently is a poem on page number 43. The introduction of the poet is Speak Gently is written by Anonymous. Anonymous means when nobody knows the poet or anything about the poet, then the poet is called anonymous. That means not known by anyone. This is your textbook page. I hope you all have opened to page number 43, and let's move forward. First, I'll explain stanza number 1. Speak gently, it is better far to rule by love than fear. Speak gently, let no harsh word mar the good we may do here. So, dear students, the poet is trying to say that we must speak in soft and mild tone to all, because kind words go deep into the heart of the listener, and the effect of speaking gently is good and long lasting. The poet says that when we speak with others, we should use kind words, and if we want to rule people's hearts and we want to get their obedience, we must gain it by love, because obedience and love secured by love is better than that which is the result of fear. The poet further says that we should use mild words and not harsh words and unkind words, because harsh words may spoil our good deeds. The word mar means to spoil or to ruin, and the good we may do here means in this world. Whatever good deeds we may do, it will all go to waste, it will all be ruined if we speak harsh words. Now, dear students, what are harsh words? Harsh words means to speak such words that may break someone's heart or hurt someone's feelings. So, in the first stanza, the poet is trying to say that we must speak soft and mild words while speaking to everyone, because uh, speaking gently has a great impact on people's heart. Now, stanza number 2. Speak gently to the little child, its love be sure to gain. Teach it in accents soft and mild, it may not long remain. In the second stanza, dear students, the poet is saying that one should speak to a little child in soft and mild tone with words of love. It is certain that a child will love the soft and mild tone, and if we teach a child anything in soft and mild tone, in kind and gentle words, in a polite manner and soft accents, he will always remember our gentle and kind words. So, dear students, we must use soft and kind words to young children so that they may always remember your words in their future life. Now, stanza number 3. Speak gently to the aged one, grieve not their care-worn heart, whose sands of life are nearly run, let such in peace depart. So, dear students, in the third stanza, the poet is saying that we must treat the aged people, means those people who have grown old in age, who are very aged, who have crossed a very long age of life. We must speak to them and we must treat them in a kind and polite manner. One should use kind and soft words while speaking to them. We must take care while talking to them that they may not get hurt by our harsh words, because such people are already sad and tired by the harsh experiences of life. Careworn means already their hearts are very weak and very disturbed by the difficulties and the problems of life which they have spent a long life. And grieve means to make their heart unhappy, sad. We must not make their hearts sad by our harsh words, and we must take care that they are old people and whose sands of life are nearly run. This is a very important verse, that is why I have underlined it. Whose sands of life are nearly run means the time of their life is complete. They may go, they may depart from this world anytime. Whose sands of life are nearly run means the time of leaving this world has already come. Let such in peace depart. So we must allow them, we must let them to depart from this world, to leave this world in a peaceful phase of life, in a peaceful state of heart. So let's move towards the fourth stanza. You can see the picture. How sinful are those youth who speak gently with their friends while they shout at their mothers. There are some people in this world who do not treat their elders at their home with love and care, and they treat them harshly. But we must take special care in treating aged people so that they may leave this world in a peace of mind. Stanza number 4. Speak gently, 'tis a little thing, dropped in the heart's deep well. The good, the joy it may bring, eternity shall tell. So, dear students, eternity means life after death, and we must have this faith that we are going to live a permanent life after death, and whatever good we do in this world, we will get the reward of this in our eternity. So, we must speak gently. It is a very small thing, but it has a great impact on people's heart, and we will get a good reward of whatever good we do in this world after our death in the eternity. So the students, this picture is relating to stanza number 1 and stanza number 4. Now let's move towards another page. Wal yatalattaf is the highlighted word of Holy Quran, which means to speak gently. So dear students, in the Holy Quran also we get this message by our Almighty Allah that we must speak gently to everyone with this word wal yatalattaf. And we also get some talking etiquettes from the Holy Quran. All over the Holy Quran, God has given us the command to speak truthfully, with justice, moderately, positively, beautifully, gently, deeply, and so on. So, dear students, I hope you will follow to speak gently in your life to get a good life in the hereafter. Now, dear students, these are the word meanings. These are the word meanings, and these are the question answer textual questions of speak gently. Now let's move towards the MCQs. These are some MCQs, 5 MCQs from the poem. And now we are moving towards our next topic, idioms. What is an idiom? An idiom is a phrase or an expression of which the meaning cannot be understood from the words in it. For example, get off my back. If I say someone to get off my back, it doesn't mean that I am asking someone to get down from my back. Actually, the meaning of get off my back is to stop bothering me. Stop bothering me. For that, I will use get off my back. In the same way, here are some more examples for you. Raining cats and dogs. I have taken some common examples, so common idioms to explain you. We say it's raining cats and dogs when there is a heavy downpour. Heavy downpour means a heavy rain. So when we use it in an idiomatic way, we say, sorry, I'm late for work. It's raining cats and dogs and the streets are flooded. The next example, feeling under the weather. Feeling under the weather means to be affected by the weather or not feeling well. But we will never use feeling under the weather for a serious condition. Sentence, she could not attend the meeting because she was feeling a bit under the weather. Now, the most common idiom, pass with flying colors. Sarah passed her exams with flying colors just means that colors have nothing to do with Sarah's result. It just means that she passed with a distinction or good marks. Now, dear students, I have some idioms with their meanings, and I have given you some sentences in which I have used the idioms. To use idioms accurately in your sentence, you must know the meaning, the actual meaning of the idiom. Otherwise, if you don't know the meaning and you use that idiom, your sentence will become wrong. If you use it in a wrong sense, your sentence will be considered wrong. Because in your board exams, you have a question number 6. 8 idioms are given, and you have to select 6 idioms from those 8, and you have to use it in your sentences. So it is better that you understand the meanings of the idioms to use them accurately in your sentences. To back out of something means to withdraw from an agreement or a commitment. Sentence: we must never back out of something once we have committed. Second, to beat about the bush means to go around the topic in order to avoid the point. That means not coming straight to the point. You know the point, but you are not coming straight to it. Sentence: he has the habit of beating about the bush. That means he has the habit of going round and round the topic, not coming straight to the point. Third, to have a bone to pick with means to have an issue to resolve with someone. Sentence: that lady always has a bone to pick with someone. That means this lady has always grudges, has always something or the other to solve with someone or the other. To break the ice means to break a silence between two people. Ali helped to break the ice between them. Ali helped to break the silence between them. It means. Now, page number 14, idioms. To make the most of means to take the fullest advantage of circumstances or situations. Sentence: student life is the best time of one's life to make the most of it. That means you have the most opportunities in your student life to learn the best things you can imply in your future life. Next, to make both ends meet means to be able to live within one's income. In this era of inflation, it has become difficult for daily wages workers to make both ends meet. Means to live within your resources. It is very difficult to live within your resources, whatever you earn, because inflation is high in this era. To make one's mouth water. It is a feeling of having a desire to have something, especially food, and everyone goes through this situation once in a day at least. The aroma of the cake when it was getting baked made everyone's mouth water. That means the aroma was so good that everyone's mouth was watering to have the cake as quick as possible. Now we are moving towards idiom, page number 33. By fits and starts means not steadily or regularly. Sentence: one who works by fits and starts can never be successful. So you can easily identify what is the meaning of by fits and starts can never be successful. Those who work by fits and starts can never be successful. That means by working by fits and starts is not a good quality. Day in and day out means daily or day after day. Sentence: Sarah worked day in and day out to complete her assignment. Day in and day out means she worked daily. She put a great hard work in completing her assignment, and she worked day in and day out. She did not waste any day. She worked day in and day out to complete her assignment. Next, with heart and soul means with complete energy and interest. Sentence: we must always work with heart and soul for our country. So this is very obvious that to work with heart and soul means to work earnestly, to work very honestly for our country. Next, with a high hand means to disregard or not to consider the feelings of others. He always treats his family members with a high hand. And the next 3 idioms: to have the lion's share means to take the biggest share of something. He's the youngest and the most demanding, so he gets the lion's share. That means he gets the most of the things other than the from the others. Now these 3 idioms: to save something for a rainy day, to cry over spilt milk, and it's high time. These are the 3 idioms of which I have given the meanings, and you have to use it accurately by knowing understanding the meaning to use it accurately in your sentences. You have to know the accurate meaning so that you can use the idioms accurately in your sentences. So dear students, I hope you have understood dignity of work and speak gently and the idioms, and I hope you will follow the slides to be able to find the answers. Now I'm going to share the home task. Complete the word meanings and textual question answers in fair copy. Of Speak Gently, you also have to complete the word meanings and textual question answers and MCQs in fair copy. And idioms, complete the given idioms in your fair copy. That is 15 idioms starting from page number 11 to 52, which I have given you in the presentation. Please take a screenshot of your home task and kindly follow the uploaded video tutorials of the today's class. So dear students, take care. Allah Hafiz.